I'm Benjamin Anthony of the Miriam Institute. I'm born and raised in the UK, moved to and live in the State of Israel, had the high privilege of serving in the Israel Defense Forces, and I've lectured about my military experiences throughout the English-speaking world. This is my TV show, Israel Outside In. Now, you spoke about tactical level leadership in the face of what sounds like a very difficult but a successful battle there, the one you've just described. Now, there's another one where there were several soldiers killed that you again made a decision about, and you overcame, I would say, a breakdown in confidence, a breakdown in the circumstances, and I'd actually like you to tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
One of the aspects of tactical command is to deal with breakdowns. Tactical units during fighting suffer casualties, sometimes from mistakes, sometimes just unfortunate events, but at the end the outcome is that a small unit, company-sized unit, may lose many soldiers, and it affects the others. In any fighting, but especially in asymmetrical war fighting, where you are a strong military fighting an organization which is usually not as strong as the military, it gives you the opportunity to change the unit, or to move it out, or not to cope with it. Someone else will do the job. And this may cause a full breakdown within the unit. And the story of that area is very simple. We had a team in an ambush that an IED was waiting for them at the area of the ambush. And 7 of the people of that platoon, of the soldiers, were killed by the IED. We tried to take the bodies out. 2 more soldiers were killed from another IED that was in that area. I think booby trapping valleys and areas of, and the bushy area was one of Hezbollah's expertise, and we had to learn to cope with it. But if you take now this unit after they lost 9 people, and they need to continue to do their operation, this is a big challenge for tactical leaders. And in these cases, I think it's not about decision-taking or decision-making. It's about leadership. How do you lead your men after such an event? How do you lead them into continue fighting and continue doing their job after such a hard event? And in this case, it's a small example of how you do it. I was actually the battalion commander at that time, and I took the company commander and the platoon commander, and together we led a patrol on a search and destroy mission at the same area where the IEDs took place, with the same unit, to regain their confidence and to show them that it's possible. And I think the first thing that you have to do is to lead on your own. It's times where commanders have to go to the front and lead from the front and not send people anymore. To know on one side how to get them back into operation, and on the other side take care of individuals who have difficulties with the situation. And sometimes it's not directly connected to how difficult was the situation or whatever happened. It's a personal feeling. Usually tactical leadership is done by very young people. And to do this thing simultaneously, on one side to continue to lead into operations. And on the other side, to take care of the people who are having difficulties, it's not an easy task. I don't know if you can teach it, but this is the right way to do it.
Did they follow you when you brought that unit back to that area, bereft of the people they'd lost? Did they follow you?
It's not only that they followed me, they continued fighting for the next few months. We were deployed there, and they executed complicated missions and operations. And I think very quickly they went back into full fighting capability and even excelled. It's not only was because of me. The company commander was a very special person. He became also an Israeli Brigadier General, and even the platoon commander is today a 2-star general. They were all part of, I think, a very good tactical level command who led this unit out of this breakdown.
So I would imagine you've got endless examples of tactical command. I think one of the aspects that you've made clear is that leadership at the tactical level is oftentimes reactive, right? That you are not in charge of the scenario that you inherit. You are in charge, however, of your decision therein. Now, we spoke about how you ascended to become the commander of the Golani Brigade, and when that happened was during the events of the Second Intifada. And this is where we see you take over a pivotal role. I'm not just saying this because I'm in front of you. I've read about this. I've heard about your actions and your leadership in that capacity. And this is where you have told me that you took on what's called the operational level of leadership and operational level of command, if you will. And during Operation Defensive Shield, the state of Israel, the people of Israel, specifically the citizens of the states of Israel, incidentally not exclusively Jewish citizens, predominantly so, but not exclusively so, are experiencing wave after wave after wave of homicide bombings launched from the Palestinian Authority, actually, and Hamas against innocent civilians who were cut down in the course of undertaking the perfectly ordinary. And the pervasive sense, actually, among the citizenry, but also within the Israeli military, is that they're not quite sure what to do, right? And you are the brigade commander of the Golani Brigade, a brigade of tremendous pride, tremendous legacy, and you decide, including in intimate conversations, I believe, with the then Chief of Staff, Lieutenant General Shaul Mofaz, you decide that actually the fight not only can be taken to the areas in Judea and Samaria, the West Bank, from where these attacks are coming, but must be taken there, and that you would lead that fight. And you didn't take that conclusion from out of thin air. You'd undergone battles in those areas, specifically in Jenin and in Tulkarem, that led you to that certainty. Tell us about your role in the operational level command during the Second Intifada.
Command, the Chief of Staff, strategic leaders, although they see a wide picture, they are quite away from the field, and they lack sometimes what seems like details, but crucial details of what the situation is. And as a brigade commander, you have a direct contact with them. You understand at least part of the picture that they see, and you enjoy good communication with them. And on the other side, your other foot is actually on the ground. You are with the soldiers, with the company commanders, with the team commanders, so you can feel exactly the situation on the ground. And therefore, the operational leadership, especially on the brigade level, is a link between the tactical and the strategic level, which is a crucial link, especially when changes occur. Day to day, the system knows how to work and it works, but when the situation changes basically,
Fundamentally,
then if this link is sensitive enough and quick enough to understand the change in the situation, they need to understand what is the opportunity that this new situation or the risks that it brings with it, and to know how to transmit it to the strategic level. It also, of course, it's not only dependent on that level, it depends on the organization and how it works. I think the second Intifada is a very good example of how the operational level leadership, field commanders, actually led the IDF to understand the change, and more than that, how to take advantage of the opportunity here. And really what happened is that at the first stage of the second Intifada, it was a static fighting, and the IDF actually was very successful in taking down all the uprises and the armed uprises and the shooting against snipers, sharpshooters, and other means. We had the advantage. And so the other side, the Palestinians, took a lot of casualties and no success, and it moved them nowhere. But as it happens a lot in this type of wars, they changed the tactics. And from just shooting and fighting and against the military, they moved into suicide bombers, but in it was a massive attack. More than 1,000 Israelis were killed by suicide bombers inside the cities, buses, children, old people, really deep inside Israel, in Tel Aviv, in Haifa, in Israeli towns. But in that situation where so many Israelis, citizens are being killed, we have no other alternative. And the military must quickly take over these areas, which became refuge to the terrorists. And I remember that there was I would say, loud meeting. The chief of staff came with some of his staff officers to visit our headquarters. There was big discussions there that on one side, myself and my battalion commanders, who all came from Lebanon, with a lot of experience in the security zone, including in Agos. We knew how it looked to change a situation like this. And I told him, I think that you are surrounding yourself with people who do not understand the situation and don't have the guts to take the right decision.
You said this as the commander of the Golani Brigade to the then Chief of Staff.
Yes.
As you just expressed it to me.
Directly. I knew General Mufaz very well for many years. And I knew that himself, he was a warfighter. And I knew exactly where I'm aiming. I knew exactly what point I'm aiming at him. And I saw that he looked at me. And but the Central Command commander, who was a two-star general also, he was really against the idea. And he told me, you are only here for 2 weeks with your Golani Brigade, and you think you know everything. And I was very rude, and I told him, General, I think you are too long. You're serving here too long. You don't understand the change. And while Israeli citizens are being killed, you are trying to explain why not to do. And I think you're completely wrong. But it is what it is. I think a week later, after a lot of discussions, we got the authorizations to raid Jenin. First one in Jenin was a short one. It was only for me to understand the situation better, and we understood the situation.
What was short?
Better.
How many days was that?
4 days. Mm-hmm. But at that operation, I learned another thing. We left an open wing so that the Palestinians, terrorists inside, will not fight to their death. You know, if you do a full circulation of force, you can push him into fighting to death. This fight, or this war fighting, is not like a conventional war when you need to take over terrain, a mountain or a hill. It's about catching the enemy. And the enemy, if you just give him the chance, whenever you do a full attack with a conventional force, they will run away. And if they run away, they will come back 2 days later, and the whole fight, even if you took over a city or you took over a refugee camp, if you didn't take the terrorists themselves, then you did nothing. And on the other side, I understood very well that the Israeli public and the Israeli military needs confidence in its military that we can succeed in this mission. I wanted an example that also can be seen by the public. And the idea came when the opportunity came to us, when one of the commanders of the local Palestinian groups was captured. And so we could start discussing with them. And very quickly I understood that if I can lead them to give up themselves, and so that the pictures will be of people putting away their weapons and surrendering to the Israeli military, this will prove that we can operate wherever we want and there is no escape to the terrorists. And it will transmit to the Palestinians, mostly it will transmit to the Israeli public, and it will transmit to the Israeli government and the military leadership. And this was a great success because just before the surrender, we put every Israeli television that we could bring into it.
Every station, every
station,
network.
everyone.
You personally told them to come?
No, actually it was Miri Regev. That time she was a lieutenant colonel, and she was stationed there in the division as one of the spokesman unit liaison. And she told me, let's bring all the TV stations in Israel. So this will be broadcasted this evening to the Israeli public. And it is sending a clear message. The IDF can operate wherever it chooses to, and the Palestinian terrorists have no escape. And we can overcome any defense that they will put against the IDF. And I think it worked very well. I think the influence was very hard. And from that fight on, this was really clear. Palestinians lost their will to fight to the last person on every Kasbah, because they understood that at the end, if the IDF decides to take over an area, it will. And on the other side, most important is that the high military leadership and even the political leadership in Israel understood that this is possible. And this was, I think, 2 weeks before a defensive shield. And I think their decision to go to war, to launch defensive shield as an operation to take over the whole West Bank, was based on that understanding.
And that's this perfect example of the difference between the tactical level command and the operational level command. The operational level command, you dictate the terms. In fact, not only did you dictate the terms for the IDF, but you dictated the terms for the Palestinian, for the enemy, for those terrorists who were operating in those areas, and you imposed those terms upon them. There was, however, an incident, and I'm going to refer to my notes here. There was a dreadful incident that took place in the Park Hotel in Netanya on Leil HaSeder, the Passover Eve, the Seder night, where Jewish people congregate around their Passover table to do the traditional ceremony and read the Haggadah, the Exodus from Egypt. And in 2002, there was a homicide bombing that took place there. There were 28 individuals immediately killed, and further 2 died subsequently of their wounds, and another 140 at least were injured, many of them severely injured. And from what I understand, you get the word to go and move onto what was then Arafat's compound swiftly, decisively, without harming Arafat himself, with the Golani Brigade under your command. Is that correct?
I think everyone knew that if we get the order, the IDF will get the order, we are able to take over the West Bank, all its cities, all the areas. There will be no escape areas to the terrorists, and the decision.
You become commander of the Gaza division for the Israel Defense Forces, I believe in 2006. Was that during the Second Lebanon War, incidentally?
Just at the end of the war. Yeah.
Just at the end of the Second Lebanon War. And you use your command of the Gaza division for our purposes to illustrate what is strategic level command. Tell us about that. Tell us how you shape the facts on the ground as opposed to react to them or even use them to your advantage. You actually proactively build the facts on the ground to a degree.
It needs to be said that usually division level command is not as strategic, but it's really operational level. The IDF, I think we have a special case in which as a division commander, you experience this level. And I became the commander of that division right after the disengagement. So the Israeli settlers and the settlements that were built for many years inside Gaza were taken out of Gaza. Actually, the military withdrew from Gaza, and we just deployed on the international border or the border between Gaza and Israel. And for many people in the IDF, the understanding was we left Gaza. It's now their own control, so all their wishes came true. And now we will live, if not in peace, at least in quiet. And my orders were to try to make the border as quiet as I can, to try to take as little forces as possible to deploy along the border and so forth. And very quickly, reading the intelligence, I understood that actually what's happening in Gaza is that Hamas is building an army. They're taking their old terror organization, at that time called Izzadin al-Qassam. It's a few hundred people organization, very extreme, which were responsible for many suicide bombers and operations against Israel. And the wide, what they called them, Wabitun, which are the guards of the villages. A very wide, simple, not very well-trained and equipped organization. And they merge them together into one system to build an army. And actually, what I saw is that they are sending people through the tunnels under Rafah into Cairo and from there to Tehran to train them. And they started training them, people on mortars, and started training people on sharpshooting and snipers and anti-tank missiles. So you see how in front of your eyes they are building an army. A full militia with capabilities on rockets, mortars, and so on. And I had to convince the Israeli military that unfortunately their wish that, and some of the leadership in Israel, that actually it's, the train is going exactly the other way around. And that this is leading to a clash between the IDF and Hamas very quickly. And I said we have something like between 1 year to 2 years that what they are building on one side, we will have to cope with it and fight against it. I think it took me almost a year to convince the military that this is actually what's happening, and to start building a full operational plan that at the end was an operation. I think it was called, free translation is Molded Lead.
Operation Cast Lead.
Cast Lead,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The whole plan and the training of the forces, the brigades and the forces that took part, I've built it for 3 years. First of all,
you built the plan for Operation Cast Lead?
Yes.
Based on reading intelligence, telling the IDF top brass that their assessment of the situation was incorrect, there was going to be a clash, and it's time to get ready for that clash.
Correct. But now, unlike the operational level, you can set the terms. You, when you understand this situation and you build your plan, now you say, first of all, what are your targets? What do you want to achieve in such a fight? How do you want to achieve them? What type of forces you want to deploy or you want to use in order to get this? And so as a strategic leader, you get the chance, and if you are smart enough, because the other side is doing exactly the same. While I was building the force for this clash, on the other side, Hamas was doing the same. Was building actually a militia. He believed also he will surprise us with their capabilities and what they can do, and we tried to do the same. But on both sides, you have the chance and the ability to dictate at least what you want to do to the other side. It's not that the terms are set. You can set the terms, and I think here we understood that the strongest weapon that they have against Israel are the rockets. And the whole operation was really directed and trying to neutralize this capability of launching rockets to Israeli cities. We believe that if we will hurt this capability substantially enough, then they will be left with no real weapon against Israel, and therefore we will not have to use all our forces invading. And we built accordingly this the whole plan. It's not only my opinion. At the end, the operation was very successful. Israel launched also ground forces, and it ended very quickly with a short negotiation, and actually brought quiet to the Gaza area for a few years. I think I took from that opportunity the understanding of the importance of a strategic leader to very clearly understand the situation. First of all, if you understand correctly the situation, and then to take the right measures, because what you think will happen at the end will happen. The question is, will it happen on your terms or the enemy terms? And it really depends of how you shape the environment and how you prepare your side to this fight.
I'd like to ask you, what would you say to a young man or a young woman watching this about the central element of leadership as you see it, that they need to carry through in any area of leadership to which they wish to turn their hand? Incidentally, not just in the military, but in any sector at all. What would you tell them to make sure that they bring along with them as a principle of leadership?
I think the first thing that a leader has to have is to know where he's going. What we call outside the military vision. If you don't have this vision, if you don't have this deep belief where you're going, now, most of the time, it will not be based on facts. It will not be based on a complete knowledge of the situation. You will have to take this one decision. What is your vision? Where you are going on your own, where the circumstances sometimes will not be clear or even completely unclear. If you don't take this decision and you are not confident in the way that you took, you cannot lead. And the second thing is, you have to have the courage to lead your people to that direction. You cannot be a leader if you don't have this courage. To keep the direction and to keep on leading to it, even though there will be a lot of difficulties on the way. And I think these two things make a leader.
And she agrees.
And she agrees.
Thank you very much, Chiko. That was a fabulous interview. I really enjoyed listening to you and learning from you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, we just finished an incredible long-form interview with Brigadier General Reserve Moshe Chiko Tamir. He's the former commander of the legendary Golani Brigade, was also the former commander with its elite unit, the Egoz unit, which was specially designed to take the fight to Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. He went on to become the commander of the Gaza division in southern Israel as well. It was a fascinating discussion about the three tiers of leadership: tactical, operational, and strategic. And we've come here now to digest that interview at the Agamon market. We are close to the northern city of Kiryat Shmona, and I've sat down to enjoy a traditional dessert here at KNAFE, which is exceptional. You know, when the Israeli Defense Forces withdrew from southern Lebanon in 2000 under the auspices of then Prime Minister Ehud Barak, there were a number of southern Lebanese individuals sympathetic and cooperative with the State of Israel who moved into Israeli territory. And one such individual is responsible for the founding of this establishment, and I'm about to enjoy one of their knafas. Knafa, for those of you who are going to enjoy it, you know, is a traditional Middle Eastern dessert, and different regions have different flavors of knafa. Now, in the United States of America, your desserts might be apple pie, waffles, or some such thing. And in the UK, we also have our own desserts. We have bread pudding, sticky toffee pudding, and that kind of stuff. But here, we have knafa. And I recommend that you stop by, because what it's constructed of is it's actually cow's cheese, and then on top of the cow's cheese, there is cream and wheat. And then on top of that, there's creamy pistachios, as I hope you can see here. And at this particular place, they also place a rose petal in the top of the meal. And then they sandwich it, believe it or not, in a salty, savory bagel or pretzel. I've been told it makes for a fantastic dessert. I've never had one of these before, but my cameraman, Shmuel, tells me it was excellent. And so, as I reflect upon the bitter, sweet experiences of the commander in the IDF, Chiko, Tamir, I'm going to dig into a bitter, sweet dessert. And so there I go, enjoying a knafe from KNAFE. Good, yeah. Definitely recommend it. I'm going to say goodbye. Enjoy the rest of our programs. If you do come to this area, make sure you make a stop here.
Don't miss the next episode of Israel Outside In, where I'll be interviewing the former commander of the Israeli Air Force, Major General Eliezer Shkedi. Join me as I ask him about his role as commander of Operation Out of the Box, the daring Air Force raid to destroy the Syrian nuclear reactor in 2007, as well as the influence that his father, a Holocaust survivor, had on him as he grew up with a clear understanding that the Jewish people must forever be able to defend themselves by themselves. All of that and more in the next episode of Israel Outside In. If you're interested in investing in the next generation of Israeli and American leadership for the benefit of both countries and the relationship between the two, then please take the time to learn about and to invest in the Miriam Institute annual Israel Strategy and Policy Tour, or ISAP, as we like to call it.
First off, I never thought I would be in Israel. When I saw that this was an opportunity, I put my name.
We really got to see the entire country in 10 days, experience the culture.
The Jewish culture was really impressive for me.
Try to get people to love each other and not to hate each other.
Really impressed by all of the different types of speakers we were able to hear.
It's for cadets, future and current officers of the United States Armed Forces, including the Army, Navy, Air Force and Marine Corps. The ISAP tour brings the best and the brightest active and incoming officers to Poland for a 3-day tour of the Polish death camps, followed by a 12-day, once-in-a-lifetime tour of the State of Israel that crisscrosses the Jewish state. 100% of the participants will go on to serve in positions of leadership within the military and beyond. The ISAP tour is your way to invest in the leaders of today and tomorrow, now.
So happy that I was selected and I was able to come. Thank you so much for the opportunity and everything you guys have done here. It's really awesome.
For the sake of the US-Israel relationship, please visit the website today at www.miriaminstitute.org/ISAP.